He smelled of metal, grease, and dust, but his heart was full of dreams. This is the story of Jake. Jake was 23 years old. He lived in a small town. His home was a tiny one-room house. The roof leaked during rain. The floor was cold during winter. Jake's father had passed away when he was just 12. Since then, life had never been easy. His mother worked as a cleaner in a local school. She earned very little. Jake knew he had to help. So, he found a job at the railway station. His job was to clean the trains. Every morning, he would wake up at 4 a.m. He carried a bucket, a brush, and a torn cloth. His hands were always rough. His back always hurt. People never looked at him. Some even looked down on him. But Jake did not complain. He said to himself, "Work is work. I am not ashamed, but I want something more from life." Jake had a friend named Roy. Roy once told him about the civil service exam. Roy said, "Jake, if you pass that exam, you can become an officer. You can help people, change lives." Jake laughed at first. "Me? An officer? I clean trains." But that night, Jake could not sleep. He kept thinking about it. His heart whispered, "Why not me?" From that day, everything changed. Jake still cleaned trains, but now he carried a small book in his pocket. During lunch breaks, he read. At night, when everyone slept, he studied. He did not have a table. He sat on the floor. He studied under a weak yellow bulb. Sometimes he had no electricity. Then he used a candle. His mother saw him one night. She asked, "Jake, are you all right? You look tired." Jake smiled and said, "I am tired, Mom, but I am not giving up." She held his hand. Her eyes were full of tears. "Your father would be proud." Every day, Jake pushed himself. He saved money to buy books. He did not buy new clothes. He did not eat outside. Every rupee, every coin went into his dream. Some laughed at him. A cleaner becoming an officer? That is a joke. Jake heard them, but he stayed silent. Deep inside, he told himself, "One day they will know my name." He had no coaching, no tutor, just his books and his will. Every page he read, every fact he memorized brought him one step closer. Jake was not the smartest, but he was the most determined. He whispered to himself each night, "I will make it. I will change my life." Chapter 1 ends here. A young man with tired hands but a burning heart, cleaning trains by day and chasing dreams by night. Jake's hands were sore. His feet were swollen, but his eyes, they were full of hope. Every night after his shift at the station, he sat on the cold floor. A small bulb flickered above him. The room was quiet. The world was asleep, but Jake was wide awake, chasing a dream. It all began one rainy evening. Jake was sitting alone under a tin shed at the station. The rain was heavy. The platform was empty. In his hand was a crumpled newspaper. One small headline caught his eye: "Son of a farmer cracks civil service exam." He read the story twice, then 3 times. That boy had no money, no support, yet he made it. Jake's heart beat faster. He whispered, "If he can do it, why not me?" That very night, Jake made a decision. He walked home through the rain, wet, cold, but his heart was burning. He reached home, took out a notebook, wrote one sentence on the first page: "I will become a civil servant." From that night, his routine changed. He worked at the station from 5 a.m. to 2 p.m. He returned home, ate a simple meal, and slept for 2 hours. By 5 p.m., he was up again, books in front of him, dreams in his eyes. He studied everything he could find: history, geography, politics, math, English. Most days, he was too tired to keep his eyes open. His body begged him to stop, but his dream pushed him forward. His mother watched from a corner. One evening, she said, "Jake, you are working too hard. You need rest." Jake looked at her and smiled. "Mom, I have rested for too long. Now I want to run." She placed her hand on his head. Her eyes were wet, but her heart was proud. Jake used old school books. Some pages were torn. Some words were missing. Still, he studied them like treasure. He had no internet, no mobile phone, but he had something powerful: his will. He said to himself every night, "I will not stop. I will not break. I will not quit." There were days he felt hopeless. The syllabus was big. His mind was tired. His friends had left the town for better jobs. He was alone. But even then, he never missed a single night of study. He made a timetable. He stuck it on the wall. He wrote on top in bold letters, "Do not sleep without learning something new." Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. His books were filled with notes. His walls were covered with charts. At the station, while others rested, Jake revised formulas in his head. He practiced vocabulary while cleaning windows. His job never stopped him from learning. People noticed a change in him. A senior worker asked, "Jake, why are you always reading? What are you planning?" Jake looked up and replied, "I am planning a new life." Some laughed. Some wished him luck. But no one truly believed he could do it, except Jake, because now he was no longer just a janitor. He was a dreamer, a fighter, a student of life. And he knew the world only changes for those who dare to dream big. Jake's journey had begun, but it was not easy. Every day brought a new challenge. The syllabus was huge. Jake had never studied like this before. Some topics were hard. Some subjects made him feel lost. But he never gave up. He made a small rule: 1 page every day, 1 step closer. His notebook was his best friend. He filled it with notes, questions, and dreams. He had no teacher, no guide, but he had hope. Some nights were very hard. Jake would stare at the book, but his eyes would blur. His body would ache. Sometimes he even fell asleep on the floor. But every time he woke up, he said the same words: "I will try again." He did not need motivation videos. He did not need fancy classes. He just needed his why. And his why was clear. He wanted to change his life. One day, he heard that a small library had opened in town. Jake walked for an hour to reach it. When he entered, he felt like he was in a different world. Rows of books, tables, quiet, peace. He picked up a general knowledge book. It was new, heavy, full of facts. He smiled and whispered, "This is gold." From that day, Jake spent 2 hours at the library after work. He took notes, solved questions, and read stories of people who passed the exam. He was inspired. One evening, he saw a group of students studying together. He walked up and said, "Can I join you?" They looked at his clothes, his tired face. One boy laughed and said, "This is not a place for cleaners." Jake felt small. His heart sank, but he just said, "That is okay. I will study alone. He walked to a corner, sat on the floor, and opened his book. From that day, he never asked anyone again. But he never stopped going to the library. Tiny victories began to appear. One day, he scored 8 out of 10 on a mock test. He smiled for hours. Another day, he remembered all 50 states of his country in order. He wrote it on the wall. Progress, not perfection. Even his mother noticed. She said, "Jake, you have changed. You look stronger." Jake replied, "Because I now believe in myself." He started waking up earlier, 4 a.m., to revise before work. He would whisper facts while cleaning. He would test himself while riding home. Jake had turned his pain into power. But the hardest part was yet to come. One day, he checked the exam notice. The civil service prelim exam was just 3 months away. Jake froze. His hands shook. His heart raced. He had studied hard, but was it enough? He sat on the station bench that evening, thinking, worrying. Then he closed his eyes. He took a deep breath and said, "I have come this far. I will go further." He made a new plan. More revision, more mock tests, less sleep, more belief. Even when tired, he smiled. Even when scared, he tried. Because for Jake, this was not just an exam. It was his second chance at life. The day had come. Jake stood in front of the exam center. His heart was beating fast. His hands were cold. He had worked for this moment for months. Now it was real. He looked around. Other students had bags, books, and confidence. Some talked to friends. Some read notes. Jake stood alone. He clutched his admit card and said, "You are ready." Inside the hall, the silence was heavy. Papers were being handed out. The clock started ticking. Jake looked at the first question. It was hard. His mind went blank for a second, but then he closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and remembered his nights on the station floor. The early mornings. The library. He whispered, "Trust yourself." He moved to the next question. And the next. Some answers came quickly. Some did not. But Jake kept going. One question at a time. An hour passed. His hands were shaking, but he did not stop writing. He drank water, took deep breaths, focused again. When the final bell rang, Jake put down his pen. His eyes were wet. He had done his best. Outside, he sat on a bench. The sun was setting. He looked at the sky and smiled. "No matter what happens," he said, "I did not give up." The results were expected in 1 month. That month was the longest month of Jake's life. Every day, he checked the website. Every night, he dreamed of success. But he also feared failure. It felt like his whole future depended on that one result. His mother said, "You are already a winner, my son." Jake nodded, but deep inside he was scared. Then, one morning, the result was announced. Jake opened the site with shaking fingers. His heart pounded like a drum. The page loaded slowly, too slowly. He entered his roll number, clicked submit. The screen showed one word, qualified. Jake froze. He stared at the screen, then read it again, and again. He had passed. Tears fell from his eyes. His hands covered his mouth. He laughed and cried at the same time. He ran to his mother. "I did it," he shouted. "I really did it." She hugged him tightly. Both of them cried. The little house filled with joy. Jake's story was no longer just about cleaning trains. It was about courage. It was about faith. It was about rising when life pulls you down. News spread in the town. People were shocked. "Is this the same boy who used to sweep the station?" they asked. Yes, it was him, the boy who had nothing but a dream. And now, that dream was taking flight. But this was not the end. The next challenge was the main exam. It was tougher. It was longer. But Jake was not afraid, because he had already passed the hardest test, the test of not giving up. Jake had cleared the first stage. But now, the main exam was ahead. It was not easy. There were more subjects, more topics, more pressure. Jake made a new routine. He woke up early, studied all day, slept late. He cut off from everything. No social media, no fun, no rest. He knew this was his only chance. Some days were hard. His mind got tired. His body felt weak. But he kept going. He remembered his past, the station, the dust, the noise. And he reminded himself, "I did not come this far to stop now." Jake visited the library again. He met an old man who often sat there. The man said, "Hard work never fails, my boy. Keep climbing." Jake smiled. Every day, he learned something new. History, economics, current affairs, it all became part of his world. He did not have coaching. He did not have fancy books. But he had one thing many others did not. He had hunger, the hunger to change his life. At night, he revised. He made notes. He talked to himself, asking questions. What is the capital of that state? Who wrote the Constitution? He answered each one with focus. His mother would bring him food and whisper, "I believe in you." One day, while walking home, Jake saw a group of students. They laughed at him. One said, "Oh, look, the train cleaner is now a future officer." They all laughed. Jake did not reply. He walked away with a smile. In his heart, he said, "You will see me on the list." Finally, the exam day arrived. It was the biggest test of his life. Jake wore a simple shirt, took his pen and admit card, and left for the exam hall. He did not shake this time. He did not fear. He was calm. He was ready. The questions were tough. The paper was long. But Jake stayed strong. He remembered every hour he had studied, every sacrifice he had made. For 6 hours, he wrote with full heart. His back ached. His fingers hurt. But he did not stop. When it ended, he walked out with a quiet smile. He had done everything he could. Now it was in fate's hands. Weeks passed. Jake waited again. This time, even his breath felt heavy. The result date came. Jake did not open the website right away. He sat with his mother. He prayed. Then he clicked on the result link. Slowly, the page opened. He scrolled down. There it was, his name on the final list. His rank was not just good. It was amazing. Jake was selected for the Indian Administrative Service. He was going to become a civil servant. He covered his face with his hands. Tears fell. His mother hugged him. They cried and laughed together. The boy who once cleaned trains would now serve the nation. His journey had been full of pain, but he never gave up. He proved that even when life gives you nothing, with faith, with effort, and with belief, you can create everything. Jake's photo came in the newspapers. TV channels covered his story. People who once ignored him now praised him. They said, "He is an inspiration." Jake stood on a stage one day. He looked at young students and said, Never stop dreaming. Even if you are cleaning trains today, you can rule your life tomorrow. The crowd clapped. His story became a light for others. And he never forgot where he came from. Jake started a small foundation to help poor students because he knew one book, one chance, and one strong heart can change a life. Moral of the story: no matter how tough your beginning is, it does not define your future. With hard work, belief in yourself, and the courage to keep going, you can rise from the lowest point to the highest success. Dreams do come true for those who never stop climbing.